Today we are comparing one of the last Sony Handycams, the Sony AX43A versus the Sony AX53. What is the difference between these two models and which one should you get if you want a camcorder? So this is the AX43A and it was released in 2023, but it's just an updated model of the Sony AX43. The difference between the 43 and the 43A is that the 43A has a little bit better of a screen. The first difference between these two cameras is the lens ring. So this one has a manual ring, and in my opinion this is an extremely useful feature. So if I'm shooting something and the exposure is too bright, I can just hold the manual button. Then I can select, for example, here the auto exposure shift, and I can change it a little bit down. So now if I turn this ring, it adjusts the auto exposure and I can hold it again. And now I can, for example, switch to the focus. And now I can adjust the focus using this ring or put it back to autofocus and hold again to go to zoom. And now I can use the ring to zoom in and out. So if I want to change the exposure on the AX43A, here you need to do it using the My button, so for example here, and now I can select manual and adjust the exposure, but this is extremely unintuitive. Or you can go into the menu, camera/mic, and here you have the options. So for example, I want to adjust the shutter speed, manual, and here I can adjust the shutter speed. But obviously using this process is a lot slower, so you probably want to use this camera mostly in fully automatic mode. The second thing that the AX43A is missing that the AX53 has is this button. It's the Nightshot button. The Nightshot is an infrared low light function, so you can see even when it's completely dark. So when you click it, you can see a filter goes over the camera. So even when it's completely dark to your eyes, it can still capture images. So this Nightshot function is really nice to have, especially if you want to shoot in completely dark scenarios. Here you can see there is no Nightshot button, and this part is only for the remote control. So there is no infrared Nightshot. The third thing is the My voice cancelling button that's missing here. So on the old model you would have this button that you could press, and when you hit it, it will activate the My voice cancelling feature. It will make sure that it only picks up sound from the front of the camera and not from the back. But when you deactivate the feature, it will have a microphone that gives omnidirectional sound. So it will capture the person behind the camera and in front of the camera, but if you click this button, it will only capture the audio from the front of the camera. And this camera still has that feature, but it doesn't have a separate button for it. Another thing missing is this video photo switch button. So if you quickly want to switch to take a photo, that's how you do it on the AX53, just by pressing this button. And if you want to change to photo or video mode on the AX43A, you have to click on mode, and then you can select photo. And if you want to switch back, you hit this and select movie. Another feature that's missing on the AX43, you can already see it, it's the viewfinder. So if you want to look through here, you can use this viewfinder, and in here you can preview the image, but the viewfinder resolution of the AX53 is pretty low. But the viewfinder resolution of the AX53 is pretty low, so I don't use it that often. But what is nice is that you can have the camera on without having the screen open. So now the camera can record, but it is really small and easy to carry around. Whereas with this thing, the camera can only be turned on by opening the screen. And then once you close the screen, the camera will also automatically turn off. And even though it's not the highest resolution, it's still a nice added bonus to have a viewfinder built into the camera. Also, I've built a side-by-side rig so we can compare the two images and see if there's any difference in image quality between these two cameras. And when we take a look back at the images of these two cameras, you can see that they are very similar, almost identical, I think. There's one thing that the AX43A is better at than the AX53, and that is the autofocus performance when zooming in. I'm not sure if that's just my model having issues or if that's actually an improvement on the AX43A, but when zooming in you can see that the AX43A autofocus is better compared to the AX53. This is a quick microphone comparison using the Sony AX53 and the Sony AX43A. Which one has better microphone quality? This is a quick microphone comparison using the Sony AX53 and the Sony AX43A. Which one has better microphone quality? Or is it the same? Let me know in the comments down below. From my tests, when zooming in, this one has a little bit worse autofocus performance, whereas this one works fine. Both of these cameras don't have great autofocus, but because almost everything is always in focus, it isn't that big of an issue. So which one should you get? That really depends on who you are. I definitely prefer having this manual ring because I can just hold it, switch between settings, and this is a must-have for me. But for some people that isn't really necessary, and then this can still be a really nice option because it delivers exactly the same image quality, but then at a little bit of a cheaper price. Also, the Nightshot functionality is nice, that I can quickly switch between modes. Having the viewfinder is a nice addition. So those are all small features that make this camera a little bit better compared to this one. But that doesn't mean that this one is a bad camera. You can still capture some really amazing videos with this camera. So even though this is a newer model, it isn't really a better version than the AX53. So which one do you have? Or which one do you prefer? Let me know in the comments down below, and thank you so much for watching.